What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Hour of Devastation Commander preview. Tara and I are going to be covering some of the Commander cards in the set. Tara, how you doing, man?
Oh, doing good. Ready to go.
Awesome, awesome. We have 7 commanders in this set, or legendary creatures. We have the Scarab God, Locust God, Scorpion God. Those are all pretty cool. Let's start off with the Scarab God. So we have the Scarab God. It has 3 colorless, 1 black, 1 blue. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses X life, and you scry X, where X is the number of zombies you control. Then for 4 mana, 2 colorless, black, blue, exile a creature card from a graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. Whenever it dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. The cool thing about these gods are... there's 3 of them. They fit on perfectly with the Grixis color theme, but they return back to your hand whenever they die. So that's pretty cool.
It makes removal like really difficult, especially like in the commander format and even draft standard, all the other formats.
Yeah, no, and we've never seen anything like this on a legendary creature that it dodges the commander attacks while going back to your hand. So I feel that these are pretty cool. Now the cool thing about the Scarab God is it says exile target creature card from a graveyard, so that turns your opponent's graveyard is active and your graveyard is active as far as reanimation goes, which is really cool. And one of the things that really stuck out to me is that it supports a nice little strong zombie theme, which there are a lot of zombies in the current set. But you can almost kind of go like just a nice little reanimator on a stick style commander. Like I've got this commander built so far, and I've just found some like really nasty targets for it. And it's just a really good reanimator. It's almost like a... I don't know if you play Commander, but like I play Mimeoplasm. That's a nice little reanimator style. And it's a little busted sometimes, but this seems like a really nice reanimator commander deck that's not overly busted. You have these activated abilities. It's a 4/4 zombie, so really cool card.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I've just kind of been just reading online, kind of like generally, they kind of consider this now like the new like best zombie lord in Black Blue. So that's kind of like what I keep reading. I'm just like, is it really that good? And I look at the other two, I'm like, man, it looks really that good. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about it is that you can definitely go zombie tribal with it, or you just go straight reanimator and you get those zombies and you still get those scries going. So solid commander card. And do you think it has any standard playability?
Yeah, definitely, and I think I'll probably go into more depth about that when we hit the standard video. But yeah, for sure, like I think the Scarab God is, out of all of the gods in Hour of Devastation, is probably the most pushed.
Yeah, because I mean, I know we're doing Commander now, but I was just kind of like, man, like I don't play a lot of Standard, but it looks like it'd be pretty fun to kind of get that up and running.
It's crazy. And like in Draft and like Sealed, it's like a windmill slam, and then like in Standard, it's like, I mean, it's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
okay, so that's the Scarab God. The next god that we have is the Locust God, god of all locusts. And man, this looks like an absolute fun. I love drawing cards. All right, let's start out with the Locust God. It's 4 colorless, 1 blue, 1 red. Almost said black. Flying whenever you can. Yeah, I was like, we just covered it. Whenever you draw a card, create a 1/1 blue and red insect creature token with flying and haste, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
You usually don't see a lot of token generations that have haste.
Right.
Keeping on theme with the activation ability, 2 colorless, blue, red, draw a card, then discard a card, and then has that same clause when it dies, return back to the hand. So
this card is insane. Like for commanders, or I mean, it's just like ridiculous.
Yeah, it's and I just love that whenever they spoiled it, they even they're like, yes, Skull Clamp will draw you 2 cards and get you 2 tokens. Whenever you so it's basically kind of like, yes, get your swarm going. Like I have this deck pre-built already. All I need is the commander card, and it's a great finisher for commander. I mean, you just ramp. And you really don't have to do a lot of setting up for this commander. You know, you have this as your commander. You do a lot of artifact ramp. You know, you're playing blue-red, so you're going to have a lot of card draw to begin with, and you're just turning those into extra little value creatures. One thing that I did run for the Locust God that I really enjoy is, I think there's a card called Crater Hellion. I'm trying to look it up. But it is a really cool card in that you sacrifice... No, it's not. Basically, it's you sacrifice all creatures you control and then put 4/4 tokens onto the battlefield. So there's like 3 or 4 cards like that. Another one is Mog Infestation. And what you can do is, let's say you have 10 little insect creatures on the battlefield. Mog Infestation says, destroy all creatures target player controls, which you can target yourself. Then each creature that died this way, put 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. So basically, you can draw your cards, get 10 insect tokens on the battlefield, then blow them up to Mog Infestation and have 20 goblins on the battlefield. So there's
Whoa.
a nice little sub-theme of blowing up your own little insect tokens to get a few more tokens, which is pretty cool.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, like trading up. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but other than that, it's a solid commander card. Cannot wait to play with it, and I don't know, it looks like a lot of fun. I just love drawing cards, and then getting rewarded with hasty 1/1 insect tokens is always really nice.
Yeah, I mean, being able to loot and then also being able to, create a 1/1 with flying and haste, and then like even to, potentially feed your graveyard if you have anything with flashback or something like that.
I mean, you put Wheel of Fortune in there, you discard your hand, draw 7 cards, you've got 7 haste. I mean, it's just
That's true.
It's bananas. I love it. It's everything about it you want in a commander card.
It's just silly.
It is. Okay, the last god that we're running, or not running, but covering is the Scorpion God, the Rock. When it's 3 colorless, somebody said like, "Hey man, are you going to build the Scorpion God and use a picture of the Rock?" I was like, "Well, I kind of have to now." It sounds pretty good.
I just foresee like altars of that coming in the future.
Yeah, it'd be great. Okay, so the Scorpion God, 3 colorless, black and a red. Whenever a creature with a -1 counter on it dies, draw a card. Then for 3 mana, put a -1 counter on another target creature. That's 1 colorless, black-red. And then whenever the Scorpion God dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. This was probably my least favorite out of the gods, but it's still a really interesting god in that you can put those on there, at instant speed, and then being able to draw a card whenever a creature dies. It's some nice card advantage on that.
I'm kind of concerned, like the -1 counters, I guess, in like Commander or something like that. Do you think this may see some kind of like play with? I'm not really sure, like maybe like an Infect deck or something like that.
It could be, if you're going in like a 1 versus 1 kind of cutthroat Infect deck, you could go for that. It's almost like you're just going to be building. Take all the black cards out of Hepatra and really utilize the -1 removal spells, and then just really take advantage of those cards dying. And it's still a 6/5 body, which is nice. Black-red it's always a fun color combination to play in Commander. Like I have a Mogus deck that's a lot of fun. And if you just, you're going to get rewarded for killing creatures with -1 counters on it by drawing cards. So just load it up with Phyrexian Arena, Dark Tutelage, start drawing a bunch of cards, and then killing their creatures, and then getting a bunch of, let's say you cast Damnation, you have a few extra mana, you can kind of dump that mana on, put those -1 counters on those creatures, and then start drawing those cards from a board wipe or something like that.
That is true.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty good. So that's the 3 not Locust Gods, but the 3 Bolus Gods, which is pretty cool. Do you know if, I'm trying to think if have they ever done anything like that in Magic as far as like these are all the plague gods from Nicol Bolas? I'm trying to remember if there's anything.
I don't believe so. Because like you have the gods like of Theros, which are like kind of like, I would say Hour of Devastation is more inspired from Theros based on their kind of card design, and they kind of talked about that when they talked about mechanics. But like, they're different because they're more like their own like deal, like they're kind of their own thing, Yeah. With like the Bolus gods here, it's like I'm guessing because I haven't caught up on the lore yet because I'm still behind.
Yeah, I got you.
It's like I think they're like entombed and they just kind of were released from by Nicol Bolas. So
it's just cool that they kept them on theme with the Grixis color scheme like that. I just thought that was really flavorful. I always like stuff like that.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Okay, on to the next commander. We've got Neheb. Zombie Neheb.
Oh, Neheb the Eternal.
There we go. Neheb the Eternal. It's 3 colorless, double red. Flick 3 whenever it becomes blocked. Defending player loses 3 life. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, add red to your mana pool for each 1 life that your opponent have lost this turn. Very interesting. I don't know really of an effect like that where you can deal damage and add that mana in your second main phase with all that red mana. So it's really interesting that they're going to be building something like this.
I feel like this is going to be in like a crazy mono burn like commander deck that's just going to like just use so much damage and also be able to play like 3 spells in 1 turn because of the like damage it's doing.
Yeah, like I built Hazoret. I built Hazoret Burn, and to get her online, you need to have like 1 or less cards in your hand, which it's fun to kind of get to that. And I need to go burn with her, but simply having Neheb down as a burn style commander, and you could just really amplify the amount of card draw you've got going. I mean, and then I also read that throw this in a Nekusor deck and go for a wheel effect because it's life loss. It's not how much damage was dealt. So you get Nekusor on the battlefield, they draw a card, they lose a life, and then you're going to be able to simply just going for a wheel effect will net you 7 mana on the next main phase, and then if you have something like what is that black enchantment? The Waste Not. So if you have something like Waste Not on the battlefield where you're generating a lot of extra mana in that second main phase with all that floating red mana, it's a definitely unique commander. It's pretty cool that they're building that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a definite toolkit commander for a lot of like play styles right now.
Yeah.
I love that it just synergizes with itself too, because if it gets in, it does 4 damage and it gives you four mana, but if it doesn't get in, it still gives you 3 mana.
Yeah, that is
so
really
it's
nice.
like what?
Some nice value on that. And it's just like sometimes I think about like power creep and Magic and stuff like that, and then you see stuff like that get printed. It's not busted, but it's a very unique card design.
Sure, I feel like Neheb may have had like first strike on it at like the beginning of like playtesting, and they were like, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
we should probably take that off.
We might need to dial this bad boy back.
First strike, afflict 3, and also give you 3 mana when you do 3 damage, whatever.
Yeah, because like Hepatra, she had a Death Touch, and then they took it away, which it made sense that she had a Death Touch. So.
Yeah. Ugh. Well, I mean, like originally Neheb does have first strike.
Yeah.
So it's like I would just feel like it just needs to carry over because all the other Minotaurs kind of have first strike that are important. Mm-hmm. So.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so that's Neheb. On to the next one. We have Unesh. I think that's how you say his name. Nice little Sphinx. Unesh. He is flying. It's 4 colorless, 2 blue. It has flying, and then Sphinx spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. And then whenever the Sphinx enters the battlefield, whenever Unesh enters the battlefield or another Sphinx enters the battlefield under your control, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Your opponent puts those, separates those cards into 2 piles, put 1 pile into your hand, the other pile into your graveyard. So, I've kind of got a nice little deck thrown together with this. It was really cool trying to find there's not a whole lot of Sphinxes out there, and they all have.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask. I was like, is there enough Sphinxes to make a commander deck?
There is. Some of them you're kind of stretching a little bit. You're kind of getting into the commons and uncommons, but there's enough in there that having the enter the battlefield ability for every single Sphinx that you cast is really nice, and that you can get a Factor Fiction basically every single time you cast it.
Right.
Because a lot of these Sphinxes they usually start around the converted mana cost around 5, 6, 7, just because they have a really unique ability when they enter the battlefield. So the fact that it reduces that cost makes a lot of those Sphinxes pretty much playable, as long as you can get Unesh on the battlefield and kind of keep it out there.
Right.
And then you're just generating card advantage. So really unique commander. I don't know if it'll see... I don't think if it'll see any sort of... it might be a standard beater, but as far as commander goes, it's just one of those... It's not a... top tier commander, but it's definitely something that if you were to throw this deck together, you'd have fun playing it.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, like, I don't think it'll see like any kind of like standard tribal anything.
Yeah.
I think in draft, it's obviously a bomb.
Yeah.
Because it's 6 mana 4/4 flyer, and then it's also like a Factor Fiction. So
yeah.
Like even a 1 time off, it's like pretty good in draft. So.
I got you. But yeah, it's, solid commander, nothing too crazy, but it's definitely, if you wanted to throw this deck together, you could have a lot of fun with it. The next commander we have is Razaketh. Pretty sure that's how you say it. The Foul-Blooded legendary demon. It's 5 colorless, triple black. It has flying, trample, then pay 2 life, sacrifice another creature, activated ability. Search your library for a card, put that into your hand, then shuffle your library.
This card is amazing.
Yes, I love it. I'm definitely going to be building this. I kind of dabble in some aristocrats on my channel. Not that much, though, so I may have to build an aristocrats deck with this. But but yeah, man, that pay 2 life, sack another creature, search your library for a card. This is pretty much what a commander player wants. It's a really nice ability. You can tutor stuff up. You can definitely go combo win with it. Or, like I said, if you just want to go aristocrat, start killing a bunch of creatures with that activated ability, you can definitely build some sort of reanimator-style deck with it. I'm trying to think... I saw one build of it with like lines. I'm trying to remember where I saw it. It was like Lion's Eye Diamond, and there's a few other things that kind of combo off with, but I can't remember exactly what it was. But yeah, it's definitely, it's one of those enablers that when they printed it, I was just like, okay, that's actually a really good ability. And getting to 8 mana in mono black commander is not that far-fetched. Even if it's not the commander, if it's just a 1-of in your deck, it's a solid commander card.
Absolutely.
So that's him, and then the last commander we have is the Dedrew, the White Tutor commander, with eyes. I keep wanting to think of Creed with eyes wide open. It's 3 colorless. I don't know why. I was just like, and his art's kind of goofy looking.
Oh my gosh, he looks kind of like Scott Stapp. It's a little weird.
Yeah, with eyes wide open. I don't know. It's like this is one of the. We'll go and cover it. It's 3 colorless, double white. As vigilance enters the battlefield, search your library for a planeswalker card, reveal it, put it into your hand. If a source would deal damage to a planeswalker you control, prevent 1 damage of that damage. Not much, doubt you're really going to see that many people building around it. It's really going to be more of a just kind of a nice little tutor card for most commander stuff. So
right. I'm not thinking this would be a commander, but I think it would probably be a good like insert card, probably.
Yeah, it would definitely be something that would be, it's a standard. It'll be a nice little staple. White has its tutor problem, so it's definitely nice to have.
Yeah, I do think if it was a commander though, it could be like a really cool addition to like maybe like a mono white warriors like Elspeth style deck. Mm-hmm. That'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm. You could definitely go with a warrior theme to it. So there's some creativity to it, but it's not knocking the doors down to be like, hey man,
right,
go have fun with me. Okay, that is the legendary creatures we have from the set. These are some of the playables that I thought were just worth of note. The first one we have is Crested Sunmare. Pretty cool. It's 3 colorless, 2 double white. Other horses you control have indestructible. At the beginning of your each instep, if you gain life this turn, create a 5/5 white horse creature token.
Why? Why does this exist?
I don't know, but I love it, dude.
Oh my god! Like I was like, why does this exist? And also, why is it not legendary?
Yes, that is literally like I was like, man, if we could just swap the homeboy Planeswalker home tutor with this card, we'd be in heaven, man. I would love this. This would be like, and of all times, this feels like a legendary creature. Like
it feels like it should have been, and then it just was like a typo. Like, oh, we just forgot.
We just forgot. That it's just kind of like it feels like the red-green werewolf. Like we didn't get a red-green werewolf commander in Innistrad, and it kind of I was like, man, why wasn't this legendary? That'd be so fun to build around.
For me, it was like I saw this card whenever it was spoiled, and I was like, I mean, I like the card.
Yeah.
But why is it A, on Amonkhet, B, not legendary, and like C, like not like in an unset because it's like a weird horse. Like there's only like 30 horses in the entire like game. It's just so weird.
It's just other horses you control have indestructible.
I know. It synergizes with itself because it's not legendary. It's ridiculous.
I love that I love that this horse is so just like powerful that it inspires the other horses to like not die. That's so man, that's a cool dude. Right
the horse
there.
Is amazing. That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's enough horse talk. So we have Hour of Revelation. This is 3 colorless, triple white. It costs 3 less if there are 10 or more non-land permanents on the battlefield. Then destroy all non-land permanents. This is perfect for commander. Might see some standard play, but you're looking at turn 5. You got 5 lands. That's 10 permanents on the battlefield, and especially if you're playing multiplayer commander, it's a good way to kind of deal with a bunch of planeswalkers and just really reset the board. So solid board wipe for this. Plus the art, man, looks pretty good.
Yeah, I love the art. Out of all of the, I guess Nicol Bolas Horn art,
yeah,
this is probably my favorite.
Yeah, it looks good.
I love it. Yeah, and I think it will probably see or most likely see standard play. Just because there's so many like token-based strategies coming out right now with Anointed Procession in standard that like duplicates a bunch of tokens on your battlefield. I think this is going to be because it's 10 or more non-land permanents as well, so that counts for artifacts, enchantments, all that kind of stuff too. So I think it's awesome.
Solid commander card right there. As soon as we saw that, it was like, I thought some standard play, but I was like, no, that's commander written all over it. So definitely be a staple. The next card we have is Oketra's Last Mercy. 1 colorless, double white. Your life total becomes equal to your starting life total. Then lands you control don't untap during your next untap step. Not burning the doors down with this card, but this is just something of note. You're playing 1 versus 1 commander or even multiplayer commander. Late game, you cast this for 3 mana, go back to your starting life total of 30 or 40, depending on which format you're playing. Like I said, nothing too crazy, but it exists. Solid card.
Yeah, great.
And then the next one we have is Overwhelming Splendor. This one's really cool. It does have a really steep price. It's 6 colorless, double white. Enchant player. Yes. Yeah. Creatures enchanted player controls lose all abilities and have base power and toughness 1/1. And then enchanted player can't activate abilities that aren't mana abilities or loyalty abilities. So
this card is the card that's going to make you like the most hated player if you're playing multiplayer commander.
They'll be like, hey, let's see those Bolas horns over there with the
let's
sun?
never play with that guy again because he was awful.
And there's a couple different ways you can kind of cheat it out too. There's a couple different curse cards too. So, but even paying the full sticker price for 8, I mean, it's not that far fetched to get to 8 mana in Commander. It's definitely worth the shot running it in certain decks, and even in those random Enchantress builds, I would love to have this.
Oh yeah.
The next card we're running or looking at is Solemnity. It is players can't get counters, and then counters can't be put on artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or lands. 2 colorless and a white. You don't really see a lot of infect in Commander, so I mean it'll still stop infect. But the main thing is that you get this down and you put down a Dark Depths, and you have yourself a nice little Merit Lage token because counters can't be put on lands. So it's definitely a brewable card, but it kind of leads to kind of some busted stuff on that. So
yeah, like intermediate 2020, whatever.
Yeah. Let's get the enchantment down. Just let me make the land drop for the turn. Oh, Merit Lage, what's up, buddy? Looking good tonight.
Exactly. It's. I mean, it also works as well with things like Thing in the Ice. It comes down 0 with no counters on it, but you still have to cast like an instant or sorcery.
Yeah. So it's definitely a good way to kind of hose your opponents and at the same time kind of set up a nice little degenerate game plan of your own. Have some fun with.
Right.
The next enchantment we're looking at is Fraying Sanity. It is 2 colorless, 1 blue, still a curse enchantment. Enchant player. At the beginning of each in-step, enchanted player puts the top X cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard, where X is the number of cards that were put into that graveyard from anywhere this turn. I love this card. It's probably, I think it might be my favorite card from this set. The cool thing about it is it's an enabler. It allows you to, let's say you're running a mill strategy, you can mill your opponent out. But at the same time, let's say we're playing CDC and we want to mill a bunch of creatures out on our own graveyard. We can enchant ourselves as the player. Let's say we dredge for 3, get that down. We're going to be able to put 3 more cards at the beginning of our next turn. So it's just a really solid card in that you can use it to harm somebody or you can use it to your benefit.
Yeah, I actually never thought about it on the opposite end, like milling yourself. Because I looked at this and I'm just like, man, it's so close to being like almost standard playable, and it's in its like utility. So
yeah, no, it's great for any sort of self-mill, any sort of great. Like this is going in the Scarab God deck that I'm building because you're trying to get as many cards in the graveyard as you can. So pretty good. And I'm trying to think what else, but yeah, it helps your self-mill strategy and Traumatize. You cast Traumatize, they put the top half cards of their library into the graveyard, and then
that's just painful. Oh my god! Ugh.
Get to the end step and like trigger, Fraying Sanity trigger. Is this good? But yeah, solid card. Love it. It's probably my favorite from the set. The next card that we have is Supreme Will. It's a blue instant. 2 colorless, 1 blue. Choose 1, counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. And then the other mode is look at the top 4 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Nothing too fancy here. This is just one of those solid commander cards. If you get it during your pre-release or you open it in a pack or something, it's just a good value spell. It's always nice to have mode spells that give you a few more options late game. Right. And having that mana leak ability is always nice to kind of catch somebody off guard with it.
Right. It's so close to being a mana leak, too, because, I mean, like, just make it 2 mana. Come on, guys.
Yeah. That'd be pretty busted. I'd love it.
Oh, I think it would be because it has both of the effects. Yeah. Sometimes I just want a card that's, like, not called mana leak, but just it is mana leak.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. No, I would love that, man. But yeah, even at 3 mana, it might see a little modern play in some fringe style decks, but as far as Commander goes, this not the best, but hey, good Commander card, good value, good solid value. The next one we're looking at is Swarm Intelligence. It's a 7 mana enchantment. 6 colorless, 1 blue. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may copy that spell. You may choose new targets for that copy. So this is one of those just like all the blue-red players out there who are building up their storm count to get this bad boy down, and then just go to town.
Every time they play something, storm count 1, and then they pass turn. Oh my gosh!
Are you a blue-red player in any? Like, do you enjoy any storm stuff?
I really enjoy the Izzet kind of archetype. Definitely in like draft and sealed.
Yeah.
I think when it kind of comes into like the standard environment, it kind of turns into like obviously like a control type strategy, which I like control, but at the same time it's like, man, blue-red can sometimes just be brutal to play against.
Yeah.
If you're not prepared. And then like in Commander, I mean it's awful.
It's pretty nasty, man. There's some like storm style decks that I've played against where I'm looking at this like, if they get to the point where they're 7 mana and they get this down, it is just like, ugh.
Game over. Like,
good game, man. Let's see if Magic Online can handle this. Okay. The next card we're running is Bontu's Last Reckoning. I love this card. Probably my second favorite card from the set. 1 colorless, double black. Destroy all creatures, lands you control, don't untap during your next untap step. So, as far as Modern goes, love this card, and even for Commander, 3 mana. Let's say you are going for a board wipe with 3 mana, having that, that exerting yourself ability where your lands are not going to untap. Simply clearing the board out and maybe just getting your commander out or something like that, you've already got some nice little tempo advantage by blowing everything up for only 3 mana. So, really good card. you know, I don't know what the price of Toxic Deluge is, but it could be a budget option depending on how much this card comes out on. But I was really
Right.
cool that I was really happy that Wizards would print something like this at the 3 mana slot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was you know, we have been talking before our Devastation started like to be spoiled. Was like, oh, we need a Damnation, even though it was printed in like Modern Masters. We're like, we need like an actual Damnation like in Standard, and then they're like, oh, 4 mana, let's do 3 mana.
Yeah.
You know, with like a slight drawback. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
like, if it's like life or death situation, it's like you want to be board wiping, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because people are just like, well, you don't get to untap your lands, but I mean, just like you just got a huge tempo swing. You just blew everything up. I mean,
in like a blue-black control shell,
Yeah.
this card is insanity.
Yeah,
so
I can't wait to
even
brew
with even with the downside.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. The next card that we're looking at is Torment of Hailfire. It's X and then double black. Repeat the following process X times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. You know, Punisher-style cards, they usually sometimes, you know, like Vexing Devil enters the battlefield either as a 4/3 or you take, I think, 5 damage. I can't remember the exact damage. But usually with those Punisher-style... Is it 5?
I believe it's 5, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But usually with those Punisher-style effects, they put you in a spot to where it's not that good for you, but I don't know why, but I love this card. I think this is a great finisher for mono black. And that's pretty serious, you know. Get to, you know, do this for about 6 or something like that. They start sacking those non-land permanents. It's either a board wipe or start losing that life, and it's really not that much of a disadvantage to you. So,
right, yeah. I mean, it's definitely gonna be like, well, they're gonna lose life, they're gonna lose board presence, or they're gonna lose card advantage, and all 3 of those things are bad.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So, it's kind of like it is that Punisher mechanic, but whatever they end up going with, it's not the, you know, all the options are just not fun for that player.
Right.
So, which kind of makes the card pretty solid. So, pretty excited to be playing with that one. Onto the red, we have Abrade. Choose one. It's 1 colorless, 1 red, instant speed. Deals 3 damage to target creature or destroy target artifact. This is one of those cards, you know, it's not the best, but it is a spell that has modes on it. And in Commander, it's nice having a little bit more utility out of your card. So just a solid little uncommon card.
Yeah, I think it's really great. I think this may actually, I mean, it will see draft play, but I think it may see Standard brew around.
Yeah.
But there is like a ton of things to deal with artifacts right now. So it's just that like it has that, you know, the mode to deal 3 damage to target creature that makes it also more useful.
Yeah.
So.
The next red card we're looking at is Crash Through. It is a 1 red sorcery. Creatures you control gain trample until end of turn, then draw a card. Now there's a lot of times where like this is a pretty nice effect. You know, maybe in multiplayer Commander it may not be that good, but in 1 versus 1 Commander, let's say you are playing red-green or something like that. You have a bunch of beat sticks out there. Giving all of your creatures trample and being able to draw a card for just 1 red mana, I feel like it's a pretty nice little ability on that. You know, you're not going to be like, oh yeah, I can't wait to get this in all of my decks, but it's something that's worth highlighting. I mean, that's a really nice ability to give all of them trample.
I definitely think for 1 mana, with the ability to give trample and draw a card, like board wide trample and draw a card is like ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely something that's going to either end a game or make it a situation where it's going to be possible to end the game the following turn.
Yeah.
Probably.
And you know, like I would probably still play this if it was just 1 red mana, but the fact that you get to draw a card it makes it pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one we're running is Firebrand Archer. Pretty cool. I didn't see this one coming in this set. 1 colorless, 1 red. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Firebrand Archer deals 1 damage to each opponent. Pretty cool. This is going to fit on theme with those blue-red storm style decks. The cool thing about this is it's not a tap ability. A lot of these, some of these creatures that deal 1 damage whenever you cast a non-creature spell are tap, like you can target a creature, target a player, and then untap them whenever you cast a spell. This is simply just going to trigger with it on the battlefield. So,
right.
You know, if they've locked it down, you can't activate its ability or something. It doesn't matter. It's just a triggered ability. So, really,
that's crazy. Yeah, a really interesting like. Would be great probably in an Is It Burn deck or maybe a mono burn deck, just something like that where it's like getting extra value just for existing.
Yeah, or even like the Locust deck. Throw this in there, start getting those tokens on the battlefield, drawing those cards, cantripping through your stuff. Yes, sounds fun.
Dirty.
The next card we're looking at is Beneath the Sands. Nothing too crazy. This card, 2 colorless, 1 green. Search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Then it has the cycling ability for 2. Or the activated ability of cycling for 2. You know, you always want a Rampant Commander, and this is definitely, it's not going to replace Kodoma's Reach or Cultivate or anything like that, but it's something that you can add to your deck to get that land onto the battlefield, and drawing it late game, it has that cycle ability, which is nice, so just wanted to highlight that. Nothing too crazy with it.
Right.
So that was Beneath the Sands. The next one we're looking at is Hope Tender. This one's really cool. It's an uncommon, one colorless green. It's a human druid. For 1 mana, untap target land, and then for 1 mana, exert it, untap up to 2 target lands. So let's say that you have Shrine out there, you have some really nice green devotion going. For 1 mana, you can untap it. It's just a really nice utility creature, and the fact that it's a 2/2 body, you can get it down if you don't have that mana producing like engine up and running. You can start swinging in with it.
Right.
Just a 2/2 body, but it's most of the little mana dorks are 1/1s or 0/1s. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this one has a little bit of a body. I love the exert ability. I think that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Especially untap 2 target lands. So you get in a spot to where let's say that you have Cabal coffers out there, and you get that going, and then generate a lot of mana off this card. So pretty cool. That was Hope Tender. The next card that we're looking at is Hour of Promise. It is 5 mana, 4 colorless, 1 green sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 land cards. Put them onto the battlefield. Tap, then shuffle your library. Then if you control 3 or more deserts, create 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. It is what it is on these zombie tokens, but search your library for up to 2 land cards. It's not just basics. I really like this, and you get to put them onto the battlefield tapped. I don't know what decks I'm going to be putting this in, but having access to that land tutor ability and getting on the field is a really nice effect. So,
yeah, I think that will really become useful, especially when you're trying to go for like shock lands, fast lands, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can search up your big mana producing lands and really go to town with that one. The next one that we're looking at is Hour of Promise. We got the Majestic Matriarch. Let me see, where are you, buddy? This one, love this card, man. Look at the card art, the Chimera Rocket.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like whenever I read this for the first time, I was like, oh, it's like Audric, but like he's not. He's a Chimera.
Yeah, I love it. 4 colorless, 1 green. Its power equal to twice the number of creatures you control. Then at the beginning of each combat, it gains that Audric ability where it gains everything. And I don't know, I love it. It's a solid commander card. It's not. It's one of those cards that it's just so good by itself. It can go in any sort of commander deck and just give you some nice value once you get it down.
Exactly. I think the thing that makes this card, for me, like, this card has such great potential, but at the same time, it's like, man, like, if you have nothing on the board, it's just a 2/2 that you paid 5 mana for.
Yeah, exactly. But having that, man, if you get those token strategy going with something like this, would slot really well in the green-white token style deck. You're going to miss out on some of those keywords, but it's just, it is a mythic rare, but it really does feel like a mythic rare, and I always enjoy when they slot something into the mythic rare slot that it does feel pretty cool. It feels pretty special.
Right.
Because I don't know if there's any other cards out there that are like double the number of creatures you control, which I thought that was because the first time I read it, I was like, equal to the number of creatures? I was like, I was like, oh, double. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Build around card. Have some fun with that one.
For sure.
The next one we're looking at is the Excavator, the Ramanup. I think that's how you say it. Let me see.
Yeah, Ramanup Excavator.
Yep. 2 colorless, 1 green. You may play land cards from your graveyard. Crucible of Worlds. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah, Crucible of Worlds on a stick or, on a snake.
And just purely for budget reasons, that card is very expensive online. I think it's like, let me see. I'm trying to look up the card. I haven't picked it up because it's so expensive. I didn't, it's not too bad. Yeah, it's about $20, but that's pretty expensive for an online Magic card. But yeah, it's just really nice to have this ability on a land creature. You're not going to see a lot of land destruction in Commander, but having that redundancy to where you can grab either like Ghost Quarter out of the graveyard or simply playing your fetch lands out of the graveyard is a really unique ability. And then combine this with something like Oracle, where you can be being able to play 2 lands per turn. Really good card, solid Commander card. It's already got its got a little spot in the Hall of Fame as far as Commander.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, indeed. Next one we have is Uncage. Where are you? This is, it's definitely a build around me card. It's double green X. Search your library for up to X creature cards with different names, then have each converted mana cost X. Reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. It's not the best card, but it's definitely something you can play around with if you're building a deck that has a certain high, say you have a lot of 3-drop creatures, 4-drop creatures. It's a weird card to cast, and the more I kept reading, I'm like, okay, all right. But it's, tutors and Commander are always nice to come by. It's definitely wanted to highlight it.
Yeah, it's a great tutor. It's not Collected Company, obviously, but it's very interesting. I think it's almost like it was like built for like a Commander style deck.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, indeed. The next card that we're looking at is River Hopi. Just wanted to highlight this. It's in Simic colors. They generate a ton of mana, It's blue-green, it has flying, and then for 5 mana, 3 colorless blue-green, you gain 2 life and draw a card. So you have those Krufix players that have a ton of mana, and they don't, sometimes, I played against them and they're sitting there with like 30 mana in their mana pool. Simply getting this out there, it's a good way for you to kind of just start sinking some of that mana into something that you can, it is a hefty price, but there's no worse feeling than having like a ton of mana and nothing to do with it, and this is a good way for you to either stabilize through card draw, stabilize through getting that 2 life, start activating a couple turns, and then drawing a card's always good off of that too. So.
Absolutely.
So that is the multicolor. Let's go on to the split cards. We have Refuse to Cooperate. Where are you? There we are. So 3 colorless, 1 red, instant, deals damage equal to that spell's Refuse deals damage to target spell's controller equal to that spell's converted mana cost. So let's say you're casting 10 against me, I cast this, deal 10 damage back to you. And then the Aftermath card, copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So, not a crazy good commander card, but you can catch some people off guard. Let's say they're going for their finisher spell. I play a lot of Army of the Damned. I think that's 8 mana. You go for 8 mana, they can blast that and then kind of copy it and go for that. So, solid commander card for blue-red.
I think probably, for me, I think Cooperate is probably the better side of this card, too. Because once it hits the graveyard, it's like, dang, this card is crazy. But Refuse is good. I think Refuse is basically punishing a player that's like, oh, I'm about to play my giant win condition.
Well, then even, think about it. It's 7 mana total, and having that mana up late game when they're casting their big spell, and they're casting, say they are casting an Army of the Damned, you're going to copy that, get those zombies on the battlefield. So, it's, I do agree that the Cooperate side, that's pretty cool that you can just hit it out of the graveyard like that. And, you're going to catch some people snoozing with the Refuse. Let's say their life total is a little low. They've been drawing some cards.
Oh, good. For sure.
It feels good.
That's going to hurt a lot. Definitely in a draft scenario where it's like they have 5 life and they're like, oh, I'm just going to play a Glorybringer. And it's like, oh, Refuse, you die.
Boom, bam. That's why you play Commander, for wins like that.
Yeah.
Okay, on to the next split card. We have Driven to Despair. 1 colorless, 1 green. Until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So that, for 2 mana, that's pretty good right there. If you're playing this in a Patra deck, you swing in with a bunch of tokens. Maybe a few of them get blocked. You connect for 4 or 5 tokens. You're going to be able to draw 5 cards. That's just completely busted. Love it. And then for the Despair part, the Aftermath, until end of turn, creatures you control gain menace, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card. All for the low price of 4 mana. That is
crazy.
I love this card. Awesome, beautiful.
Yeah, being able to go off with both of these for just 4 mana is ridiculous. Especially because these are board wide, so it's creatures you control for both of them. So it's just, insane.
Yeah, it's just like a Sword and Feast and Famine on a spell that's just draws you a bunch of cards and they have to discard a bunch of cards. I love it. It's a beautiful card. Now, it does have the Golgari restriction, so you're limited to Sultai or Golgari, but or any other shard like that. But any card that can run it, any commander deck that would run it that's running any sort of creature package, definitely go for it. A lot of fun. So that was Driven to Despair. Next one we have is Mirage. Not Mirage. What is it? The Mirage Mirror. Love this card when they spoiled it. I was like, is this for real? This reminds me of one of those old school Magic cards that are just like, why did they make this? But it's printed in 2017. It's 3 colorless, and then for 2 colorless activation, it becomes a copy of target artifact, creature, enchantment, or land until end of turn. So
good.
Yeah, let's say your opponent's playing Dark Depths, they get down Dark Depths, that has the counters on it, Mirage, you activate it, becomes a copy of it, and then you get your Merit Lage token, and you're good to go. Or even copying the Omniscience, where you can cast spells for free from your hand. Yes. I'm just, oh yeah, you got that? Cool, let me go for it too. I'll copy it real quick. So I feel like it'll be a a commander staple for a long time, and just could really slide into really any deck. I just really like that. It is one of those abilities where I didn't know I needed that, but I do. I love it.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting card. It's one of those where it's like you've never thought of a card like that before, and then it comes to fruition, and you're like, wow, this card is so interesting that can go in literally anything.
Yeah. Yeah, this definitely be a staple for time to come. The next card we're looking at is Sunset Pyramid. This is just a solid commander card. 2 colorless, enters the battlefield with 3 brick counters on it. Then for 2 colorless, remove a brick counter from it, draw a card, and then for 2 colorless, scry 1. I built Oketra, the kitty cat god of all meows, and
Nice.
mono white does not have card draw. That is one thing that mono white does not have, and something like this is just a solid commander card. It's just like it's an artifact that gives you 3 clue tokens, which I'm a-okay with just drawing those cards, getting them down, and then if you're running any sort of Traxa style deck, you can keep putting those brick counters on it and keep going for it. And then once you deplete it, you can just start scrying one. So it's really good for stuff like mono white that you just can't get card draw going, and you just need a little bit of a mana sink.
Yeah, I think this card is great.
Yeah, I love it. Solid. It's one of those cards that it's just like, you're not gonna build a deck around it, but you're like, hey man, I'd love to get that in there.
Well, it's just solid utility because
Yeah.
it's definitely something where like I mean, even in a white strategy, in a red strategy, you're definitely gonna be playing out your hand like probably by turn 4 or 5. So being able to have a 2 mana sink where it's like, okay, for the next 3 turns, I can at least draw a card, or scry the rest of the game, which is awesome.
Solid card. The last part that we're gonna wrap it up with is the desert cards. Pretty cool. We have the Dunes of the Dead. So it is a Dunes of the Dead desert land, colorless. Tap to add colorless, and then whenever it's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Now, stuff like Gitrog, stuff like Land Matter style decks, being able to sacrifice this, get a zombie on the battlefield, return it from life in the loam, keep doing that is a really, really unique ability. Pretty much like that art of the Mirage Mirror we talked about. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
start killing my land to give me 2/2 zombies? Sounds good. I'll do that. You're limited to your land drop, but
right.
Yeah, it's a nice, unique ability that I've never really seen before.
That's awesome. I never thought of it like that in that kind of scenario, but that is really cool.
Yeah, like in the right land style build, it gives you that little extra value where you can get those zombies on the battlefield, keep sacrificing it, because there's I can't remember what it's called, but the I think it's Sylvan Safekeeper maybe. It's the 1-drop green creature that you can sack a land and give target creature Shroud. So just simply having this on the battlefield, you can give your creature Shroud, sack it, get a zombie, then dredge it with life in the loam, keep that rocking and rolling. So.
Right.
Really good. The next desert we're looking at is Endless Sands. Tap, add colorless, 2 mana, exile target creature you control, tap. And then for 4 mana, sack the land, return each creature card exiled with Endless Sands to the battlefield under its owner's control. So, not the best commander card, but if you're building a blue-white blink deck or anything that really matters about enter the battlefield triggers, it's a really good way for you to exile your creature, get it back on the battlefield, and it's just, if you can get just a little bit of extra value out of your mana base by having this ability, it's solid.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of imagine a scenario where it's like you return 6 cards and they all trigger at the same time.
Yeah,
it's like, oh well, your opponent just dies immediately.
Yeah,
if you get it to happen.
It's just a really good card to get that redundancy going for you if your deck is going to support some sort of enter the battlefield stuff. So pretty good. But yeah, that was one of the things that kind of blew me away about this Hour of Devastation set is how many deserts they had in here that were just like really nice kind of utility lands. I was like, oh, okay, cool, because you just don't see a lot of that.
Right, yeah. I think for me it's like, I know we'll get into it later for like draft and standard, but there is so much desert utility within this set and of course Amonkhet as well that I mean like building a desert deck is not out of the question.
Yeah.
Now.
It's I'm not gonna lie, it's got me kind of thinking like, is there like you see lands in Legacy? I'm just kind of like, hey, these are some nice tools. Can we get any sort of land style deck going for Modern? I'd love to do that, man.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But yeah, so we've got the Endless. We just did the Endless Sands. The next one we're looking at is Hostile Desert. This is, I wanted to highlight it. It's probably going to be more of a constructed style card, but in the right commander build, it's definitely good. Tap, add colorless, then for 2 mana, exile a land card from your graveyard. It becomes a 3/4 elemental creature until end of turn. It's still a land. Very unique ability, and in the right control style deck, let's say you're running, blue-white, Grixis, something like that, where you're just trying to keep everything off the board, and you just need a 3/4 man land to start swinging across. Good card,
right.
Especially if you're running fetch lands.
Yeah, and like being a 3/4 just like outright is great too. Like,
yeah,
because like the ability like is not necessarily, I would say, because it's detrimental to you for sure, to exile a land, but like getting in for a 3 would just by paying 2 mana every single turn. It's great.
Yep. And then the last desert we're looking at is Scavenger Grounds. Add colors to your mana pool, 2 colorless. Sacrifice a desert. Doesn't have to be this one, but you can sacrifice it. Exile all cards from all graveyards. So black has Bojuka Bog, which is nice, but there's not really a land style effect. So to have this access to all the other colors and commanders is really nice because you know, an unchecked graveyard player tends to win the game. So having stuff like
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is yeah. I love playing graveyard style decks, man. It's when I see Bajuka Bog get down, I'm like, oh, this kills the crab. But yeah, it's just nice that all colors now have access to some sort of land, utility land that can exile graveyards.
Absolutely.
And the cool thing is, it's an activated ability. So, you know, you play Bajuka Bog, it triggers whenever you play it. This one, you can just wait until your Storm opponent's waiting to kind of recast everything out of the graveyard and be like, actually, hold on, I do have a response.
Right.
Welcome to the scavenger grounds. Enjoy your stay.
Gosh.
But I think that's going to wrap it up as far as cards that I have. Anything you've got, Taryn? Or...
No, I think that's great. There are a ton of cards in this set that are just commander playable.
Yeah, really good.
I love that, like, I mean, because it's always like there are several sets that kind of ebb and flow, because it's like some sets have really great commanders, some sets have really great commander playable cards, but then when you get a set like Hour of Devastation where it's like a bit of both.
Yeah, no, they definitely hit it out of the park as far as building some, throwing some nice little commander cards for us to kind of play around with. So really good. And I think that's going to be it. So, all right, everybody, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks.